Hi, I'm Firearms attorney Gilbert Ambler, and I'm back today to talk about the ramifications, the outcome of the election, and what we should expect that election means, the 2024 election, for gun owners. And specifically, we're going to be looking at the three branches of government: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial, and what things gun owners should be looking for from each branch of the government moving forwards, since although the election, for example, doesn't directly affect the judicial branch, it certainly is going to have some effects on the judicial branch moving forward. So I want to preview what I think gun owners should be expecting for each of the three branches of government. But as always, if you have not yet done this, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for us, like, comment with your thoughts, share with your friends. That way you and your friends can keep getting this important Second Amendment related content. Let's start with what is probably the easiest branch to describe, which is the legislative branch. What should be legislative priorities moving forwards? And I think there's two that come to the forefront of the mind for gun owners. These are not novel ideas because we've seen these laws proposed in the past. It's just in the past when they were proposed at a time where they either never got the momentum necessary to get them passed, or they were proposed at a time where flat out they did not have the votes, they did not have the control of the legislature necessary to get bills like this passed. What things would I expect to see? Again, both things we've seen in the past. Removing suppressors from the NFA, removing silencers from the NFA. Silencers is the term that the law uses here. No reason to have silencers as part of the NFA and have to go through this onerous process. They should be sold like any other firearm. In fact, I would support selling them as unregulated items, as firearms components. But if they want to sell them as other firearms, I can understand that. What we shouldn't have to do is we shouldn't have to do the fingerprints and photographs and all of the things that come along with treating them as NFA items, along with all of the complications. If I leave one in a gun safe and then I allow my spouse access to the gun safe and I own the suppressor as an individual, not through a trust. Now my wife is in constructive possession and potentially a felon for that action. Ridiculous. Suppressors should be coming off the NFA. Secondly, again, this is a biggie. We need national reciprocity so badly, and we don't need a national license to carry. Instead, we need forced reciprocity, where if a state, if a political subdivision grants their constituents, their citizens, grants a license or a permit to carry a firearm, that permit or license should be recognized by every other state. It's ridiculous that a fundamental, and this is a constitutionally enumerated pre-existing right, the Second Amendment, that pre-existing, specifically enumerated constitutional right is subject to the whims of petty state tyrants. And so that should not be the case. States should be forced to recognize licenses or permits to carry issued by other states. Those are things that the legislative branch should get done. The executive branch gets a little bit more interesting because we've seen how the executive branch in the past has targeted firearms. How could the executive branch help firearms? Well, the first thing is going to be the bureaucrats at the ATF. If you talk to most of the agents in the field for the ATF, and I'm talking about guys like the IOIs that go out and visit gun stores, a lot of them are pretty cool guys. They're, at least on the surface, they do work for the ATF, but they like guns, they're interested in chatting about firearms. They make no secret of the fact, however, the ATF brass, the guys at the top, do not like firearms. That's a problem. That's like the fox watching the hen house. Let's get somebody in to the ATF that actually likes firearms and wants to cooperatively and helpfully work with the firearms industry. With a new leader at the ATF, I would expect not to have to worry about pistol braces in the future. Remember, pistol braces, the lawsuits were currently decided on the Administrative Procedures Act and on the ATF not following appropriate procedures, which left the door open that the ATF could go back to the drawing board, still come after pistol braces, but just dot their I's, cross their T's on the procedure. Again, we had not reached the question, the courts have not reached the question of whether going after braces violated the Second Amendment. Hopefully we don't have to have that argument because hopefully they're not going to come after pistol braces again. Secondly, We don't know what's going to go on with the Supreme Court's decision in Mock versus Garland, Vanderstock versus Garland. I'm getting all my cases mixed up. The framer receiver rule case. We don't know what the Supreme Court is going to do with that case. I think that there is, at least based on the oral argument that took place, some risk that the court could go the wrong direction on that case for gun owners. So what could a friendly ATF do? A friendly ATF could get rid of the rule and moot the case, thereby removing the risk that we could get a negative decision from the Supreme Court. And speaking of the court, that's the last branch of government that we should be looking at in terms of how are they going to react to the election. And I'll tell you, I strongly believe an election should have no consequence on what the court would do, because I strongly believe judges should decide what the law is, not what they want it to be. So an election and the political back and forth of an election, in my opinion, should not change the way judges view cases at all. But I get it. They do. And this is why no one's calling for me to be on the bench, because they wouldn't like my attitude towards things. The judges that are there are paying attention to the politics because they're worried. They're worried about people saying things like they're going to pack the court if they decide things the wrong way. And so the fact that this election went well for gun owners means that the court should breathe a sigh of relief on issuing decisions that are appropriate and following the law, even if they're unpopular to much of the people out on the media and unpopular to many of the talking heads that might be out there. What are some of these decisions? Well, I think the court really needs to take up sensitive places. That is something that you're seeing the government using and abusing, which is dicta from Heller and Brune. They're calling everything that they want a sensitive place. This is a sensitive place. That's a sensitive place. We need the court to limit this. I also think that the assault weapons, and this is their term, assault weapons cases out of Illinois and out of Maryland are terribly decided. Really, it's the lower courts sticking their thumb in the eye of the Supreme Court justices and the Brune case. I think that the Supreme Court, now knowing that they're not going to get court packed anytime soon, I think they know that they have the political cover to decide what the law is and what the Second Amendment protects, and that's what it protects irrespective of whether you like what it says. The law protects what it protects irrespective of how we feel about it, and it protects your right to possess things like AR-15s, which they're going to call assault weapons. Sorry, but it does. So we should see the judicial branch start to take these decisions and take these cases and issue decisions which might not be popular to the mainstream media, but which are correct decisions. If you enjoyed this content, go ahead, give us a subscribe, comment with your thoughts below. What do you think gun owners should be looking for after this election? Thank you.